Welcome to Brevard News, your trusted news source in Brevard County. And once again, I'm with my friends, Katie Delaney, who is running for County Commission for Seat 1, and also Troy Tidwell, who is running for Titusville City Council Seat 2. And so we like to talk about what's going on in Brevard County, and we're going to give you news that you're not going to get from anywhere else. And so, Troy, let's start with you first. And so, you went to the Planning and Zoning meeting for the Titusville City Council, and what do we have?
Yeah, so thank you. Good to be back. Appreciate both you guys. So I wanted to just start by revisiting a topic we talked about last week, and that is the TEC's recommendation. Of course, the TEC, as we talked about, is the Titusville Environmental Commission. And last week we discussed the recommendation for landscaping for the city of Titusville. And the reason that's on our radar and the reason it's a big deal is the city council, and rightfully so, they have asked for the technical manual for landscaping for the city to be updated. Because I guess the current manual is a little bit old, so and that's fine. But the reason it's a big deal is, Titusville is very unique. It's uniquely situated close to obviously the ocean, on the Indian River Lagoon, which is a big deal. And there's a lot of native plants and wildlife and trees and shrubs, all of which really contribute to the health of the lagoon. And I didn't think it was that important, but the more I dig into this, the more I realize it's of great importance. And so that's why it keeps coming up. It came up at the last council meeting and now at the planning and zoning meeting. So that's a big deal. And really, it matters a lot more than I thought. So
Did we ever find out on that why the city hired a third group in order to compete with the existing group?
don't have a reason why, but we're going to get to it in just a
Oh,
minute. So
okay,
I
great.
appreciate you
All
asking.
right.
So when we talk about the approved landscaping, when you talk to most people, and as I encounter most people around through the city, when they talk about landscaping, they think it's just really involving that downtown corridor. Most people think of landscaping in your city, you think of the downtown area. When I'm driving through the entrance of downtown on US 1, what does it look like? Is it pretty? Is it trees, shrubs, flowers, all
Right.
that stuff? And really, the reason it's a major deal is it involves not just the downtown, which is just a small part of this issue, it's the entire city. So the reason that's important is right now, according to my count, there's almost 40 developments either currently in development or planned to be developed in the city of Titusville. And so as all this new development is created, it's a big deal because these developers are basically landscaping the entire development. And so you can't put just anything in the ground. It really matters. And I didn't really realize that. To me, if it looks good, if it grows here, seems fine. Well, according to a lot of the biologists, it's important because Titusville is a very unique ecosystem. It's important, and what you put in the ground actually matters to the health of the lagoon. And so that's why they're really focused on it.
So are the developers doing or planning what's consistent with the?
So what's being talked about from planning and zoning perspective is they're actually talking about incentives or mandates requiring the developers to actually put certain things, plant certain plants, native plants, things that do well here. And so that's really the issue. And so the reason I'm bringing it up is the rub is last week we talked about this third party
Correct.
consulting company that the city hired. So, in spite of the Planning and Zoning Commission, which, as we talked about last week, it's comprised of 7 local people, most of which are experts and 2 alternates. In spite of that, the city has decided to hire this third party consulting firm to come up with their own list, even though our environmental committee has come up with their list, which makes a lot of sense. These people live here, they work here. One of the board members have been on that board for 14 years. So these guys are experts. So to date, the city has spent almost $30,000 in taxpayer funds from a third party consulting firm that's based in Raleigh, North Carolina, of all places,
Wow.
to come up with their own list. And really, based on what I'm seeing, is the city council, they're driving this other list. In spite of the list of the council or the commission, the environmental commission, made up of 9 people, that live here, work here, they've all donated their time and their research for free. Okay, so it just doesn't make sense to me.
So, is there anything behind that? That is somebody getting paid? Is this leading to the developers getting their list pushed through? I mean, have you seen that there's any
Well,
problem with this?
for me, the consulting firm, which I won't name right now, but they keep coming up a lot. And so I don't know what's behind that, but they do a lot of consulting for the city, not just this particular list of approved landscaping, but a lot of other consulting. And this same firm keeps coming up over and over again. So we're going to get into that in future episodes, but for now, we'll just stick to that landscaping topic. But it makes no sense to me why we would spend 30 grand when we've got these experts that live here that are donating their time and all their research, which is quite good, by the way. They're doing it for free, and it's because they care, and that's what we need on city council. That's why I'm going to be running for city council, because we need people that actually give a dang about what's going on in the city.
Well, you know the whole saying that there's an app for that? There's probably a federal grant for that. And that's probably why that's happening.
You know it.
Anything else?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. In addition to this landscaping deal, our former city solicitor, city attorney, who's a really sharp guy, was our city attorney for over 40 years. And he's retired. Also, he's been on the Planning and Zoning Committee for about 5 years, and he's also retired from that. But and it gets back to this Live Local Act. He pointed out during the Planning and Zoning Committee that Titusville is the only large city, and Titusville, believe it or not, is a large city in spite of what you might think. It's the only large city that he knows of where the property owners have no say so, and no say so to any development that's happening adjacent to their property. There's no public notice of hearings. There's no due process. And it really goes back to the Live Local Act. And he's pretty fired up about it. I'm pretty fired up about it. If we're not careful, this Live Local Act is really going to destroy Titusville. And all the development that's happening. And last week we discussed all this money coming in from out of state to support all these developers. It's a money grab. This Live Local Act, if we're not careful, Titusville is going to look a lot different than it looks today. It's going to destroy the lagoon and clean water, and I mean, it's a really big deal. So you've got to put people in city government that actually give a crap about this and what's going on. And
Absolutely.
I'm personally, I'm not beholden to any developer. I'm in no one's pocket. I answer to myself and the citizens of Titusville, and we're going to flip this thing.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is that if you want this to change, you need someone like Troy Tidwell on that city council. I mean, most of those votes are 5-0, right?
That's
And
right.
so a lot of the things that have gone on here, there's no pushback from the city council at all. And the city council is supposed to be representing the people. And they're ending up, and as it turns out, representing the developers and other special interests, it seems.
Oh, you're exactly right. Right now, they're representing developers, and they're representing and basically enacting the will, in my opinion, of the city manager and the assistant city manager, and we just need to fix it.
Yeah, all we
Yeah,
need is some people on the city council who want to make a change, and that change can be made pretty simply, right?
absolutely.
Okay.
It doesn't. You've got one or two strong voices on council that are willing to stand up for what's right, that aren't beholding to any other party other than the voters,
Right.
and the people that just want to do what's right.
Correct.
Your average ordinary person that gives a crap, and that's me.
Yeah. One other thing, there's an article came out about Robert Jordan, a former city council member, and we found out a lot of things about this guy in this article
Yeah.
concerning his time on the city council. One of the things that you may not know about Robert Jordan is he pushed that mask mandate hard. I remember it because it really ticked me off. But you read the article. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I read the article, and I've met Robert Jordan a few times. I don't know him very well, and he's running for county commissioner of District 1. It's not really my race. I'm running for city council, But this article came out from Florida Voice, which I thought did a really good job. It dates back to 2020 when he was, I believe, the vice mayor of Titusville. And at that time, he really pushed uh, the mask mandate and also pushed vaccines. And
Correct.
my personal opinion, humbly speaking, I don't think anyone in government, city or local, city government, local government, or federal government should be imposing their will um, on people. I think that's a personal choice. But even deeper than that, while he was pushing the vaccines, what really bothered me was, he's on the board,
It's a
chairman of the
conflict of
board,
interest.
chairman of the board of the local hospital in
Correct.
Titusville. And if you're the chairman of the board and you're pushing vaccines, that's a huge conflict of interest.
Oh, without a
And
doubt.
really, any board member, um, uh, anyone on city council, in my opinion, should be very careful on which boards they sit on because there's an opportunity for conflict and corruption. And even if you're not, the optics are very poor, and in most cases, people aren't going to like it, and it just creates a huge question on your character.
But that gives
So
us a chance also to ask you about medical freedom. And so, what would be your stance? And I guess you've just told us there on medical freedom if you were on the city council. If this came up again, what would be your response? Would it be that?
my
That
response is that everyone has a personal choice. For me, I'm not a big mask guy. I'm not a big vaccine guy, but there's lots of reasons that people do wear a mask and people do want to take the vaccine. Everyone has their own level of comfort and level of risk or reason why they're doing that. And it's not up to me to impose my will on someone else. And so that's where I stand. I hope that answers your
you
question.
did. Thanks, Troy. So now to Katie. So we've got some fireworks over in Cocoa. And so in Cocoa, there's the possibility that the mayor said something astonishing. Well, it's not really astonishing because Titusville wants to do it as well. They want to annex unincorporated areas around them. And so if you look at the big plan for Titusville, they have our area, Wendover Way, or Wendover, included in their future plans. And so the mayor of Cocoa is wanting to do the same thing in the unincorporated areas of Cocoa. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. It's I was very surprised at the last Cocoa City Council meeting in board reports towards the end of the meeting when it was time for the mayor to speak. He actually said that his plan for growing revenue in the city of Cocoa is to incorporate unincorporated Cocoa, and that includes Port St. John, West Cocoa, Canaveral Groves. And as somebody who lives in one of those areas, I I will do everything in my power to make sure that that doesn't happen. We moved to that area for a reason. We wanted low taxes. We wanted less government intervention in our lives. Um, we've got we've got dirt roads and horses and four by fours and you know that's the way we like it. And we moved there because of that. And
Never occurred to him to lower taxes or
yeah,
actually to cut back the size of government.
yeah, weird.
I'm always amazed when you see these governments are looking for more money. How about
Exactly.
cutting back? Does it ever occur to you?
Yeah,
So that's not the solution. He's trying to find more money.
exactly. And the reason why he's doing this is because there is legislation uh, in Tallahassee this session that's going to be growing the exemptions for homestead, which is a good thing for the people. It lowers our property tax, lowers how much we have to pay in our property taxes.
Which means they have to cut back.
Exactly.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, we have to cut back the monster.
Yeah.
The so, but there's oh gosh, I'm
You don't
sorry.
think that he, so when they, as you were there and they were talking about this, do you believe that there were other options on the table? Is this just a solution or a possible solution from the mayor, or was there other options? What was the response when this came up?
So there wasn't really a whole lot of discussion around it. It was just mostly the mayor speaking on this. But from what I've seen in government the past few years, is when something gets talked about briefly, it's usually already in the works behind the scenes. So
Just kind of moving it out there to get the people used
exactly.
to it. The other thing is the county commission. This just keeps going. You would think this is some kind of a horror movie with the government and the way that they're acting, but here you are with the county commission wants to reuse sewage water.
Yes.
Is that? No, tell me this is not really real,
It's
right?
so I guess that they're worried about having enough water for people as our population grows. Uh, you would think that there were other ways, maybe not fill in all of our wetlands. That would be a great idea. I know Farmton up in Mims and Lower Volusia. Um, that's a huge source of water for North Brevard, and they want to turn that into the North End Vieira. So it's just insane. It's insane.
Yeah, we've got problems in Brevard County and just in governments all over the country. The governments have taken off, and really, your government is supposed to be for the people, by and for the people. And so you're seeing that we're taking a shift away from that. And hey, if you really want to keep up with what's going on about what your government is doing in Brevard County, just tune in to us. We come here every week and we're going to give you insight that you're not going to hear anywhere else. So join us next week for Brevard News and think about these two guys that you want to put on Titusville City Council and also the County Commission. We need principled people in office. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.